Long live the Sacramento Kings. They refuse to die, come into the Chase Center, and hand the Warriors their biggest home loss of the season to force a Game 7 in Sacramento. You are listening to Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all postseason long. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports reporter and producer for ABC 10 News. And y'all, we aren't done yet. We still at least have one more Sacramento Kings game. I know after the Game 5 loss earlier this week, a lot of us were feeling like that was it. That was the last time we were going to be in the Golden One Center, at least for this season, to watch the Sacramento Kings play. Instead, Sunday, Kings, Warriors, winner take all after the Sacramento Kings come into Chase Center in Game 6 and hand the Warriors a 118-99 loss. Now, I could spend a bunch of time just celebrating the fact that the Kings, with their backs against the wall in an elimination game, held the Golden State Warriors to under 100 points on their home floor. But here's the big stat that I want to throw at you. The Golden State Warriors, before tonight, had not lost a game on their home floor by more than 14 points. Their 19-point loss in this building is their biggest loss in the Chase Center so far this season. On top of that, it's just the 9th time that the Warriors have lost in this building this year, and it is now, for the Kings, 19 points, the largest margin of victory for any team in this series. Yeah, the Kings came in and beat the Warriors down. And I said after Game 5, don't come in with excuses. Don't come in hoping to beat the Warriors at their game. Come in and take the opportunity for Game 7. Come in and play your game. Go down swinging. If you lose, everybody expected you to. If you get closed out on the road by the defending champs, that's what everybody expects. But come in, play free, play your game, and live with the results. And not only did the Sacramento Kings play their game, and finally their offense awoke, especially in the second half. Their three-point shooting was way better in the second half than it was in the first half. We'll get into that. On top of that, the Kings came in and defensively dominated the Warriors. They really dominated the Warriors in almost every statistical category. The Sacramento Kings didn't come in here and play desperate. And that was one of the kind of storylines, or that was a word describing how the Sacramento Kings needed to play in this game, right? They lose, their season is over. So there's some desperation of we absolutely have to win this game or we're done. And there, I'm sure, was some desperation for the Sacramento Kings coming into this game, but desperation or desperate is not the word that I would use to describe how the Sacramento Kings played in tonight's game. I have a handful of words here. I would use words like composed, focused, locked in, determined, sharp, hungry. The Sacramento Kings came into Chase Center and told themselves that they were not going to allow the Golden State Warriors to beat them in almost every single area possible. And the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings have not shot well from the field for the most part this entire series, with the exception of Game 4. This game was not just the Warriors having a cold shooting night. Sacramento defensively completely locked in against the Warriors. And listen to this just domination across the board statistically for the Kings, right? The Kings held the Warriors to 36 points in the paint. The Warriors shot 39% from the paint. Why is that significant? Because in Game 5, where the Kings, of course, lost to the Warriors in Sacramento, the Warriors shot 70% from the paint and scored 60 points in the paint. Talk about a quick turnaround. Talk about a quick fix for Sacramento in that category. But that's not all. The Kings had 18 offensive rebounds in this game and beat the Warriors in second chance points 18-8. That's massive, considering Kevon Looney, offensive rebounds and second chance points have been what the Warriors have really hung their hats on in at least 2 out of the 3 games that they've won in this series so far. A lot of what Mike Brown and the Sacramento Kings like to do is turn opposing teams over and get out in transition, play fast, run in the fast break, especially when you're a younger team playing against an older team with less rest, with only one game in between Game 5 and Game 6. The Sacramento Kings wanted to get out, push the tempo, and play fast. They scored 18 fast break points to the Warriors 9. We're not done. The Warriors turned the ball over 18 times. Now, the Kings did turn the ball over 20 times themselves, so they need to clean that aspect up. But even though the Kings turned the ball over 2 more times than the Warriors, they still scored more points off of the Warriors' turnovers. 23 points off of 18 Warrior turnovers. Check this out. The Sacramento Kings were only up by 10 points to enter the fourth quarter. And I say only because the Golden State Warriors, this dynasty, has made a name off of closing gaps in a hurry, especially on this home floor. And I said that the Sacramento Kings were playing a dangerous game for much of the third quarter when the Warriors were handing Sacramento this game on a silver platter. They looked terrible all night. Their decision-making was terrible. They looked slow. Their shot selection wasn't there. They just did not look ready to go. They looked tired. They looked like they had a game to lose, and they could afford to lose. The Sacramento Kings did not do a good enough job earlier on in this game putting the Warriors away. Ultimately, though, they managed to extend a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter into a 19-point win, and they did that by holding the Warriors to just 19 points in the fourth quarter. That's massive considering we know this Warriors team is really good at getting timely buckets. They've got a guy named Steph Curry over there that can get going and carry the team himself if he has to, and he tried. And I give the Sacramento Kings a ton of credit because every time Steph Curry would hit one of his patented Curry threes, or Game 6 Klay Thompson, who didn't really make an appearance, but he'd hit a decent shot, or the Warriors would get a stop and get out in transition and start to get this Chase Center crowd going a little bit. Every single time the Kings had a counter. There was one moment in particular where Steph Curry hit one of his big threes. De'Aaron Fox came back down the floor and hit a three himself to answer right back. Then the Warriors scored 5 unanswered points, and Malik Monk hit either 2 or 3 straight three-pointers over a short period of time that created that separation and basically snuffed out the Warriors' comeback attempt in the fourth quarter. Like, the Kings matched and had counter punches for every little haymaker that the Warriors threw tonight, and that's significant for the Kings. Sacramento shot 40% from the field in the first half, 33% from three-point range in the first half, 70% from the free throw line in the first half. In the second half, the Kings also shot 40% from the field, but they improved to 41% from three-point range just in the second half alone, and 87% from the free throw line. Finally, Sacramento's offense showed up, and it showed up when the Kings needed it to create the separation they needed to win this game in the second half. Here is De'Aaron Fox. I asked Fox about the success on the road this season, what beating the Warriors by 19 points, their largest loss in this building so far this season, if that meant anything to him. And also, De'Aaron says something at the end about him. He feels that this is the most perfect game that the Sacramento Kings have played so far this season. Take a listen. Building off of what you just said about playing in Chase Center, the 19-point loss is the biggest loss the Warriors have had in this building this year, just their 9th loss this year. Do those numbers mean anything to you, number one, and what do they say just about the resiliency of this team on the road?
Definitely. I mean, like I said, just the little things that we did tonight. I mean, we shot 38% from 3. We've shot better. We made 17 threes. We've made more. We only shot 40% from the field. We've done a lot better than that in the past. But like I said, just what we were able to do as far as the effort game was big for us. And you going into another team's building, regardless of who you're playing against, and you have 20 offensive rebounds and force 20 turnovers, you'll be able to beat anybody. And with the fact that we were able to make shots tonight, we had a great chance. We had a great opportunity tonight. Wanted to hit first, hit second, hit third, hit last, and I think we did a good job at that tonight. I think, especially with our pace, I feel like we were in control, basically the entire game tonight. And from start to finish, I feel like this is probably the best game that we've played this year.
Today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. Well, it's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time that you need a part for your car, make sure you head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part that you need fits just right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check mark to know that the part will fit, or you get your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop at eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Take a bow, Keegan Murray. Now, there are a lot of individual Kings performances that I'm going to highlight here, but I felt like I had to start with Keegan Murray, not just because he was the best player for the Sacramento Kings in the first half, where as a whole offensively, once again, they were struggling. Keegan Murray tonight played 45 minutes. The rookie only rested 3 minutes in this game. Now, on one hand, you're probably going, okay, he's a rookie, he's a young player, he can handle that. It's not about him having the stamina to be able to play 45 minutes. It's about him as a rookie being good enough in an elimination road game to be on the floor for that long and provide positive impact. Keegan Murray tonight, 15 points, 4 threes, 12 rebounds in 45 minutes. And his rebounding was essential as the Sacramento Kings made some rotation changes in this game, with Domantas Sabonis getting into foul trouble, plus the Kings going a little bit smaller, playing Trey Lyles at the 5, getting Terrence Davis into the game. Keegan Murray's rebounding was essential in this game. He also drew 2 or 3 charges in the first half alone. Keegan went from, the first 3 games of not making an impact at all and kind of just being a disappearing act to stepping up in an elimination game 6 and playing more than any other player on the floor and belonging the entire time. Plus, he had some great defensive moments as well, in addition to drawing charges. So Keegan Murray, take a freaking bow, stepping up on this major stage as a rookie, not looking like a rookie at all, shooting with confidence, even if his shooting percentage wasn't great. He took a lot of threes in this game. Most of them were good looks. I love everything that I saw out of Keegan Murray, and he deserves, of course, massive flowers. How about the Kentucky boys? 3 Kentucky boys, not just the 2 that you know and love, of course, De'Aaron Fox. 26 points, 10 of 18 shooting from the field, 11 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. Yeah, again, he's doing that with a fractured index finger on his shooting hand. And you can tell, especially when he's attacking the basket and the Warriors are swiping at his arms and swiping at his hands and everything, trying to knock the ball free. You can tell his handles aren't as sharp and as crisp as they normally are because of the, I'm sure, pain that he's dealing with in his finger, but also having that brace on your finger, that extra girth, for lack of a better term, on your finger. It's clearly having an effect on his dribble moves. He turned the ball over too many times. He pointed out his turnovers as one of the 2 issues that he had in this game from the Sacramento Kings, the other being sending the Golden State Warriors to the foul line 35 times. But still, De'Aaron Fox not making excuses, playing through the pain, stepping up, and providing huge points and huge stats and a great stat line across the board. Speaking of great stat line across the board, his Kentucky teammate, his best friend, his partner Malik Monk, who I believe is averaging over 20 points per game off of the bench in this series. He was huge again for the Sacramento Kings, especially in the second half. 28 points, 8 of 14 from the field, 3 of 6 from three-point range. I mentioned already the big three-pointers that he was hitting to really put the Warriors to bed and create separation when the Warriors were trying to make their run in the second half. 9 of 10 from the free throw line. He was doing a great job attacking the basket and getting to the free throw line. Also had 7 rebounds and 4 assists. Malik Monk was doing it all for the Sacramento Kings like he's done at times in this series and over the course of the regular season. And then the third Kentucky guy, Trey Lyles, 12 points, 5 of 10 shooting from the field, 9 rebounds. Those rebounds were huge. Not the greatest stat line on the planet. Excellent for someone coming off the bench, and Trey Lyles played a different role, a role that he's played at times and had success at times with the Sacramento Kings over the course of the regular season. But this was the first time in this series that we really saw a lot of Trey Lyles at the 5. Alex Len did did not play. That drew Kevon Looney and drew Draymond Green out of the paint, which kept them off the glass a little bit, limited the opportunities for the Warriors in terms of rebounding. And then also defensively, when you draw those guys out of the paint, guys like De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, those who are attacking the basket, have a lot more room to work. So that adjustment, that change by Mike Brown and the Sacramento Kings coaching staff paid big dividends tonight. Terrence Davis, talk about staying ready. I think before tonight, De'Aaron Fox was mentioning he doesn't know if Terrence Davis has played 5 minutes over the course of this series thus far. I don't know what the number is. I briefly recall him being in one game, maybe during garbage time or just during like a possession or two when the Sacramento Kings need a little bit of scoring. But Terrence Davis has basically sat this entire series. He comes in, only provides 7 points, didn't shoot the best, but he wins the Defensive Player of the Game chain. He comes in, he's resilient, he's aggressive defensively. He did foul out of the game and had a couple kind of silly ticky-tack fouls, but took on the challenge of guarding Steph Curry, at times took on the challenge of guarding Klay Thompson. He did not back down. He came in, he stayed ready, he was hungry, and he provided major impact for the Sacramento Kings on the defensive end. With how good the Kings played defensively in this game, for Terrence Davis to win the Defensive Player of the Game chain, that can't be overlooked because so many guys stepped up defensively for the Kings in this game tonight. Now let's talk about the strugglers. And I don't know if that's a unfair way to label them, but these are two guys that not only struggled at times in this game tonight, they've been struggling over the course of the series. Domantas Sabonis and Kevin Huerter. Let's talk about Sabonis first. Only 7 points tonight. 3 of 12 shooting from the field. It was arguably Sabonis' worst game or so far in this series, and yet the Sacramento Kings still dominated the Warriors and won an elimination game. I don't know if I would have called that coming into tonight's game, but what Sabonis did right, and this is worth really pointing out, Domantas Sabonis finished with 11 rebounds, 9 of them offensive. Sabonis beat Kevon Looney at his own game tonight despite not playing well. Got the Sacramento Kings a lot of their second chance opportunities, which of course they took advantage of. He did foul out of this game too, had a couple of really dumb fouls, especially how he picked up his 5th foul where he missed a shot. Or no, he turned the ball over and then he just kind of tripped up Steph Curry for his 5th foul. He was clearly frustrated at that moment, but overcame fouling out and still provided when he was out there. Not great minutes, but he did something. He at least was still impactful for the Sacramento Kings. Those offensive rebounds can't be overlooked. Also had 4 assists. Not good enough. Not nearly as good as he's capable of being. The Sacramento Kings need more out of him tonight. They were able to overcome it, though, with the rest of their team's performance. Now let's talk about Kevin Huerter. I'll be honest with you. I was to the point where I was ready to watch Kevin Huerter get the hook for the rest of the game. Kevin Huerter, once again, was off to a dreadful start. The first 3 quarters did not look good. Mike Brown continued to stick with him, although gave a lot of his minutes and a lot of Harrison Barnes' minutes to Terrence Davis and Trey Lyles off of the bench. Kevin Huerter was not playing well, but finally offensively got going in the 4th quarter, hit a couple of really big threes to get his rhythm going. He finished with 12 points, 3 of 8 shooting from the field, also a couple of blocks. After the game, Kevin Huerter was the first Kings player that we talked to at the podium, and you could see that he was relieved. Here's Kevin at the podium, and then I asked Mike Brown about how good it is for Mike to see Kevin get going.
Feels good. Just got to see the ball go in sometimes, and second half, guys continue to find me. Coaches continue to just tell me to keep shooting. So hopefully it carries over in the next game.
Speaking of Kevin Huerter, he seemed relieved to finally get some of those shots to go. You've stuck with him and let him kind of work his way through this over the course of this series. How, not necessarily relieved, but how satisfying is it for you to finally see him get a couple big buckets, important buckets, especially there at the end of the game?
Well, like I said, he's just got to keep shooting the ball, and we have to keep trying to find ways to get him involved, because he's a tireless worker offensively, and his movement creates a lot of separation and gravity to get other guys open. And so, obviously making shots, you feel good about that. But the biggest thing that I like is, he hadn't shot it well, but he's continued to take them. Like he didn't hesitate tonight, and our guys continued to try to find him. So, you give the group a lot of credit, but you give him more credit than anything else because, there's a confidence level you have to have in order to be in his position, and he definitely showed that tonight.
This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is also brought to you by Ibotta. Watching your closet grow after purchasing all of the season's latest trends? How about also watching your cash back grow with each purchase? I'm talking about Ibotta that makes that possible. You can earn cash back on every shopping trip. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods. Either link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop and get your cash back. It's that easy. The average Ibotta user earns $120 a year in real cash back. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, or you could use your cash back to buy that flight that you've been eyeing, or if you're going to a game, or if you're looking just to have a fancy dinner and treat yourself. A typical basket of groceries was over $50 more expensive at the end of 2022 than the beginning of the year due to inflation. You could earn 2.5 times that in cash back from Ibotta, or even more depending upon how much you use Ibotta. And you can also earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers too when you start with Ibotta, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. So go right now and check out Ibotta. It's offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKED when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use code LOCKED. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKED. Funny how my mentions are a little bit quieter here after Game 6 from Golden State Warrior fans who did not hesitate to send me past tweets or call out Kevon Looney takes or say whatever they wanted to say. They were feeling themselves after Game 5, and you know what? I didn't blame them. Well, it's crickets in my mention tonight because even they know that their team sucked tonight. The Golden State Warriors laid a massive egg, although the few Warrior fans that I did see and interact with somehow found a way to blame officiating and make excuses for officiating, even though that's what a lot of them have been saying that the Sacramento Kings and Kings fans have been doing over the course of this series, blaming officiating for their failures. Well, you want to talk about officiating? Let's talk about officiating really quick. The Sacramento Kings shot 10 less free throws than the Warriors. 35-25, the Warriors' free throw advantage. It's not the Sacramento Kings' fault or the officials' fault that the Golden State Warriors missed 10 of those 35 free throws. The Sacramento Kings had 3 more personal fouls called against them than against the Golden State Warriors in this game. Domantas Sabonis was elbowed in the eye and got booed from everybody in this building for a couple reasons. One, because of the Draymond Green incident and getting stomped on the chest in Game 2 and everything like that. But also, Domantas Sabonis has been labeled not just a dirty player by the Warriors fan base, which is absurd, he's been labeled a flopper. Well, no one can blame Domantas Sabonis for falling to the ground and holding his eye when he clearly took an elbow to the eye, inadvertent, from Kevon Looney. I'm not here to blame Kevon Looney or say that Looney deserved to be given a flagrant or anything like that. They were both going for the jump ball. It was incidental contact, but still, Domantas Sabonis falls to the floor, has a clearly swollen black eye with a laceration under his eye. Of course, there's no foul call there by the officials, and still Warrior fans are the ones complaining about the officials. And on top of that, De'Aaron Fox got another technical foul. I think it's his 3rd technical foul of the series for once again arguing and defending himself. He felt like he was getting his arm and hand and slapped too much every time he was attacking the basket. Meanwhile, Draymond Green, if he doesn't agree with a foul, he can go right up to the officials and say all that he wants and yell in the face of the officials. He can taunt players. He can do whatever he wants without getting a technical foul. Just the way it is. Honestly, it's a joke, but it's also kind of not. I know De'Aaron Fox and Draymond Green have a relationship. De'Aaron should text Draymond once the series is over and say, hey, how should I appropriately yell at the officials to get my case heard? Because every time De'Aaron Fox argues or expresses his frustration, he's issued a tech, but Draymond Green isn't. So Fox gets a tech over Draymond. The Warriors shoot 10 more free throws. The Warriors have less fouls called against them than the Kings have called against them. The Kings starting center, who also fouled out of the game, and another Kings player fouled out of the game. Nobody from the Warriors fouled out. That starting center is elbowed in the eye without the call, and yet Golden State Warrior fans want to blame the officials for why their team got their ass kicked and was held to 99 points and looked terrible and looked completely unprepared in this Game 6. Okay, if that's the excuse you want to make, have at it. Either way, the Sacramento Kings are enjoying their win, and they're enjoying the fact that, honestly, if we're being truthful, like, the Kings should have blown this game open way earlier. Like I talked about this earlier, keeping the Warriors in it or giving them a little bit of hope or playing a dangerous game with them. But Sacramento should have had this game comfortably in hand really by halftime. I'm not saying like the game would have been over at halftime by any means, but the Kings should have been up by 19 points much earlier than the very, very end of the game, to say the least. But a win is a win, and regardless, here we go. Sunday, Game 7. Inside of the Golden One Center. Another quick turnaround for the Kings, and that favors the Kings. Malik Monk talked about in his post-game press conference today how he noticed the tired legs and the fatigue from the Golden State Warriors, that the Kings, I'm sure, were tired themselves too, but the Kings are a younger team than this older Warriors group. Look, Steph Curry missed 3 free throws in this game. The only explanation for Steph Curry missing 3 free throws is him having tired legs. Like, that's the only explanation. I don't know if Steph Curry's ever missed 3 free throws in a game. I'd actually have to go and look that up. But the Warriors were gassed. The Warriors were tired. And once again, we have an even quicker turnaround because I believe the starting time for Sunday's Game 7 is at 12:30 afternoon start. So it's going to be a quick turnaround. That being said, the Warriors are going to bring their absolute best. This is a conversation that I had with my partner Kevin John while we were driving up to the game today. I was feeling pretty good about the Kings' chances because I knew that the Golden State Warriors weren't going to have their A game. And the reason why I knew that is because they didn't have to, right? The Golden State Warriors had to get Game 3 in a lot of ways. They didn't want to go down 3-0. The Golden State Warriors felt like they had to get Game 5 on the road in order to have a chance to close out this series at home. But they came into tonight's game knowing they could lose and still have a chance to win the series in Game 7, whereas the Sacramento Kings came into tonight's game knowing they have no safety net. Unlike how they came into Game 3 knowing, hey, we're up 2-0. We just have to get one of these 2 games on the road. Hey, we can survive. And they played their worst game of the series so far. I think you have to take that into account. The Golden State Warriors did not have to be their absolute best in tonight's game. And it showed. The Golden State Warriors have to be close to their best in Game 7. They have to win or their series is over. Their season is over. Same thing with the Sacramento Kings. Is the Kings' best capable of defeating the Warriors' best? And just because the Warriors expect to play their best or want to play their best doesn't mean they necessarily will. Like, shots might not fall or guys might, God forbid, get hurt or get into foul trouble or whatever it may be. We still have to play the game and see how it plays out. But my point is, I'm expecting a far more locked-in and dialed-in Golden State Warriors team than we saw in tonight's game. If the Sacramento Kings are going to win Game 7, they are going to have to survive in a lot of ways, what I think the Warriors are going to bring. But I'll say this, the Golden State Warriors are also going to have to survive that environment. I'm not ready for that environment. I don't think anybody is ready, truly, for what that environment is going to be like. Game 7 in Sacramento, Golden One Center. We thought Game 1, that crowd and that environment was crazy. Game 7 on a Sunday is about to pop the you-know-what off. It is going to be insanity, and I cannot wait for that. I cannot wait for that environment. Although, if we're being honest, Game 7 has not been the most friendly to the Sacramento Kings in the Sac era. They're actually 0-3 in Game 7s, so let's hope that the Sacramento Kings don't allow that to fall to 0-4, but I cannot wait for Sunday. The environment is going to be incredible, and I mean, it's another quick turnaround, but I expect the Sacramento Kings to be ready, and hopefully they're able to exploit that in Game 7 like they did tonight. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. The build-up to that over the next 24 to 36 hours or whatever it is going to be intense. It's going to be fun. Join the conversation at any time. You can reach me on Twitter at MattGeorgeSack. You can email me, mattgeorgesports@gmail.com. If you're watching on YouTube, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know if you're going to Game 7. I would love to see you. I'm going to be there basically all day. It's going to be nuts. That game's also going to be on ABC. So in addition to Locked On Kings, I'll have a lot of TV duties to do, which is going to be a lot of fun. And, I mean, technically, my company, ABC, would still cover the Golden State Warriors if they moved on and the Sacramento Kings season came to an end. I would not do it happily. So there's a chance I could be back into this building this year. But let me say this. I hope I'm not looking at the Chase Center until the Kings are playing the Warriors sometime next year during the regular season or during the playoffs. I hope this is the last time I'm seeing this building for a while because, let's be honest, the Golden One Center is way better in so many ways. Appreciate your support. As always, can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of Locked On Kings. Until then, my name is Matt George. You have been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.